Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a demon who makes trophies out of men. It's John Levingood.
Okay, I'm the creeper. Jeepers Creepers.
You just
right?
come alive. You're the jungle. You come alive and you just take people. But you're just But you're just a big guy who does it. Like, you don't need invisibility.
I would prefer to have the invisibility though.
Yeah.
Predator, 6 inches taller than me, right? And even he could use it.
You know what else?
I mean, when people are unloading thousands of rounds of a turret gun, like, yeah, you're gonna be glad you have that invisibility going.
Oh gosh, old painless, just unloading. It's just, I listened to the commentary, and John McTiernan said that he was watching movies and people just had this like almost pornographic love of like guns being shot in movies. So he goes, you know what? Let's just do like a minute straight of people shooting bullets and shooting grenades into the forest. It's like cathartic. So he's like, yeah,
it's an amazing scene. Like they half level a football field of rainforest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just destroy it. But I love what McTiernan said. He's like, yeah, I just thought it'd be funny. I thought it'd be a good one. His first ever big studio feature, this guy. And he just has the wherewithal to have a minute of just guns blowing up. Guns and biceps.
The mob mentality of it is really great too, because like one guy is just panic firing the biggest gun any of them have. And then other people just come in and they just start shooting. They don't even know what they're shooting at. No one said anything. No one said there's 20 of them. No one said he went that way. No one said behind that boulder. Like everyone, there was a boulder, but everyone just starts unloading and then reloading and unloading and reloading. It's like, how many rounds are we to believe were unloaded there?
I mean, okay, so the minigun carries what, 1,000 to 3,000 bullets. So at least, okay, all those bullets combined, the big gun, Max gun, Bill Duke's gun, several thousand.
All those guys reloaded.
Yeah.
At least one extended magazine.
Yeah, I mean, let's say there's 30 something in that. That's 60 each, but then you have the minigun with over 1,000. Like, that's absurd. It's just, like, Shrubs got destroyed. You know what makes me happy though, John, watching this again, and I watch this. I've been watching all the Predator movies lately. I have a Predator 2 app. I have a Prey app. I did Predators, and then I just did another Predators episode. And I just did Ewoks versus a Predator. Like, I've been covering a lot of Yautja lately, John. What I love most about
you did the AVPs back in the first 10.
Yeah, like AVPs, like we've covered them all. And watching Predator again, 1987's Predator, directed by John McTiernan, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, and a large Yautja hunter who gets Ubered off on our planet Earth. It's just, I want an intergalactic taxi cab service, John. Just, hey, where you going, Earth? And then just plops me off on Earth. Like, it's like a bus stop, and you just go there to hunt. Makes me happy. But I love that Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the biggest action stars on the planet, absolute beast, gigantic guy. I love how much he gets handled by Kevin Peter Hall's Yautja at the end. It's quite, and we think about this era of film, John, like we grew up with this, thinking of just brawn and big dudes beating people up and just absolute domination. But it's really refreshing watching Arnold just get slapped around by this large monster. And it's quite, I'm not going to say selfless, but it just sort of shows that Arnold's not afraid of getting schnockered on camera. And that really makes me like the movie and the performance more, because you have the biggest, most oily muscle men ever on the planet shooting thousands of bullets into the forest, and then you have something bigger than them killing them. It's such a primal, cool idea, and all the actors were just down to die and get beat up, and I love that.
I feel like this was like McTiernan's scrimmage match before like Die Hard. which follows a very similar trajectory. You have your action star who just is getting truly beaten up, almost in the Van Damme way, but those are very different movies. But just getting beaten up successively as the movie goes on. He's just like, he's limping towards the end. He's crawling towards the end. Both these movies, right? It's just that instead of a Predator, it was a bunch of Swedes and a British guy and or German guy. I'm sorry, but British guy playing a German guy,
playing a ballet dancer, right? Like, no, wait, Hans Gruber.
Right.
And, yeah. And
Hans Gruber, right.
And there's something cathartic about watching this horror movie, John, because I think most horror for us is a killer chasing around people who are wildly out of their league. There's different examples. There's Your Next, there's Aliens, there's, like movies like that where the people are still pretty tough, but there's something nice about watching creme de la creme soldiers just getting blown away. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, it's a good idea. And it happened before, Dirty Dozen, the people die, Seven Samurai, but they're outmanned by more than them. Like, it's 12 against 500. This is a bunch of huge dudes against one slashy, invisible monster. And I just love they're like, let's set a trap. Let's figure this out. Let's do this. Let's not leave. Let's shoot into the jungle. They don't make the dumbest moves, I don't think, but it's nice watching a bunch of tough people get killed by something tougher. There's something nice, and they're not flailing around, if that makes sense.
Only Carl Weathers. He's the one making all the rookie mistakes in this crew.
Yeah, he is.
Not that he's a part of the crew, but
yeah. I mean, but I love that he's in this movie. I mean, McTiernan cast him because they needed Arnold was relatively new into his career. He had Terminator, he had Conan, but no, that's Conan. This is Conan, but he was relatively young, so they brought in Carl Weathers just to, add a really great presence to act alongside Arnold. And I think it worked. I think Arnold having Carl on set and Bill Duke, who was with him in Commando, I think that really helped elevate his performance. Just having these veterans in there who took their roles quite seriously. Like Bill Duke, watching this movie again, he's good. Like, he brings it in this movie. Just everything about him. Like, they really let his character breathe, and I love it. I love it so much watching Bill Duke in this movie.
And Bill Duke is...
Oh, here, let me...
Mac?
Yeah, Mac. Yeah, Mac. Like, I'm gonna get you. Like, and then the shaver and... Like, just... Oh, I love it, man. I love their presence next to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I think it's interesting how this whatever military, paramilitary, what's the word I'm looking for?
Mercenaries?
Like guns for hire, mercenaries, yeah. Like these guys, yeah, they're the best of the best of the best, all that stuff. But yeah, they really never come off that slick once the crap hits the fan. But like Billy, when things start to go off, like you see, like it's not PTSD, it's not panic, but something psychologically heavy is setting in. And Mac, Bill Duke, after we see Jesse Ventura fall apart, like he is like PTSD'd out, and he stays that way, and he's still quite functional, right, as a warrior, but he is clearly on a new psychological plane of existence of a newfound PTSD on top of whatever that soldier had packed in his ammo bag when he showed up. They're all really fleshy characters. You'd think that, you'd have an ensemble with two cool guys and a bunch of throwaways who are going to get shot and die. But they all have good staying power in my head.
Absolutely. Especially when we watched this movie in the late 80s, early 90s. Because you know what I think? This movie's rated R, but I think a lot of kids watch this movie with their dad or mom or older brother or older sister because it's not totally loaded with sex. There's a couple jokes from Hawkins, Shane Black, that are quite bawdy. Jesse Ventura gets a line in there, but for the most part, it's just a rock and sock'em action movie. And I think that made it a lot more accessible to kids who were 10, 12, 13. So like, even when I was watching this movie when I was young, like I liked the entire cast, like Billy in his final stand, Mac with his gun, like I'm gonna get you, and his razor blade, and just watching them get off the helicopter too, which I love. Like Duke has the suit, Jesse Ventura has the tobacco and the MTV, Chavez has like the tucked in jeans shirt wide open, Sonny's wearing a tracksuit, Dutch has his red shirt and a hat, Carl Weathers has the tiniest tie and a really large shirt. Shane Black has a sleeveless t-shirt and jeans. It's just kind of cool that they all have a different look to them. And I mean, they did that on purpose, and they all have different weapons that you can kind of think about. And also, John, I have a question. You're getting out of this helicopter. What are you wearing?
What am I wearing?
Yeah, what's your outfit? It's like they all have their own outfits. So what are you wearing?
I mean, really, they weren't acknowledging the mosquitoes. This was filmed in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I was just there last week collecting insects. I assure you, you want sleeves of something heavy. I don't care how hot it is. Don't joke you're gonna pass out. So like, but again, I'd probably be a little more practical. I'd probably have sleeves if I'm wearing camo. Why do I have my arms bare? Like people are just gonna see these glowing arms in the middle of the woods. So I don't know. I feel like I'd be a little more black tactical SWAT-ish, because that's what most of the movies of my upbringing had, rather than camo. I don't know.
So when you got it, no, like
probably something.
No, John, you were in Dallas, Texas, right, at a bar, and you had to go fly down for this mission and meet them, and you're wearing whatever you had on before you get into your tactician gear. What are you wearing?
What year is it?
87.
It's probably like my Metallica Rebel shirt.
Oh.
Sleeveless, because it's been washed like 1,800 times, with the red skull on it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
It's probably that, and some just royally tattered jeans with a few extra holes that I put there myself to look extra cool, and some black shit kicker boots. I think that's about right.
Oh heck yeah, man! I'm gonna have a hat that says fog on it, and then probably wearing like
it's a fog hat,
like a super deep V shirt, some jeans, and a pair of Saucony or Adidas. That's what I'm coming off. That's what I'm wearing off the plane. I think that works for us.
I almost feel like you're a Russian gangster.
Yeah. Well,
you sound like someone from Burt Kreischer's Machine movie.
I'll have about 14 chains on, just looking awesome. I'm gonna get you suckered full chained out. I'm not gonna OG over gold, but I'll definitely have some like 80s stuff going on. The shirt, Miami Vice was in the 80s, so my shirt's probably gonna be a little bit of a pastel. It's gonna look great, John. And then I'm going long sleeve too, because I hate mosquitoes.
Yeah, like I'm watching those guys, and like whenever they're sitting there perfectly still, I'm like, nope. Nope, because everything's quiet, and then you just hear slapping at mosquitoes.
Then the predator hears it. Now, John, as an esteemed entomologist, what's the point of mosquitoes?
I mean, what's the point of viruses, right? It's just that something with a bunch of cells and something that resembles decision-making processes evolved on this planet, and it evolved to consume and replicate. And, that's kind of the unfortunate reality of it.
Wow.
Mosquito is basically just a slightly more cognitively able version of a virus, and on top of that, many of them spread viruses.
Jeez, yeah. I mean, it's definitely well, not. Yeah. I mean, oh well, that's interesting, because I was thinking about ladybugs. Maybe they do some good things. Bees do some good things. I was like, mosquitoes, nothing, just death.
Well, yeah, it's
do birds eat them?
These things. Do what?
Do birds or bats eat mosquitoes?
They're pretty small fare, so not in general, not a lot. They're like mosquito fish. They're fish that evolved just to eat mosquito larvae in water. But like, the thing is, like, everyone wants to think that evolution is this majestic thing with purpose, but a lot of things evolve that don't make sense and that are disadvantageous, and a lot of things exist just because an opportunity was created and counterbalanced with something else. We have all these things walking around that are big, filled with blood. Can something survive on that? Well, that evolved. and it's something innocuous that you usually don't notice when it first starts chomping on you, right? Because if mosquitoes were the size of bats, they wouldn't get a bite in and get away effectively. So again, it's like, so whenever we watch a horror movie or a sci-fi movie or even Prometheus, and there's all this, of course, in the Prometheus movies or Alien movies, we find out these things were all engineered. But still, even in a world where these things naturally happen, people say, oh, that's so stupid. Oh, it's something like that. There's no reason that things exist like this. Giraffes don't have long necks to eat things that are high. They just make good shots in nature shows. Most of what they eat is actually their shoulder level. And they evolved that way instead of horns so that the males can compete and butt necks, and the leverage is what wins the fight. But they break their necks. That happens. Occasionally one literally will break their neck. There's so much muscle there, it's hard to happen. But again, and you ever see them drink water? The crocodile scenes in the brutal nature shows? This is not an advantageous thing. It doesn't make sense that this happened. It ran away from reason. And so again, like some of these crazy things that people dream up, like the xenomorph or the whatever, like there's things like this in nature. And again, they just exist to parasitize something else. And if you remove them from existence, what happens? Well, then that something else, there's more of it, right? Well, eventually something will capitalize on that resource and evolve to capitalize on the resource. So in a way, a lot of these crazy sci-fi movies or like Starship Troopers, even on a galaxy level, are in no way unreasonable given enough geological time, say billions of years. You know, dinosaurs. We went from nothing dinosaurs to almost no dinosaurs to birds and mammals, right? And to humans. And so that stuff took a long time. It took us billions of years to go from those bacteria to what we see today.
Wow.
Like, so it's just a, you know, even though all the dinosaurs and everything, all the multicellular stuff was in the last pretty much 100, 200 million years. I don't know. I'm not an expert at that stuff, but again, so mosquitoes, predators, predators are very much like people.
So Herzog
right?
is right. It's just chaos. It's chaos. I can't do a Herzog thing.
Sure.
Now, John,
Sure.
what would you rather battle? 43,000 ill-tempered mosquitoes or a Yautja?
Okay, I feel like I have successfully faced 40,000 ill-tempered mosquitoes.
But like really ill-tempered, like you know like mutated ill-tempered, like these things.
Do you mean like the mosquito movie?
No, they're still. Oh no, which we did an episode on, did we not? Yeah, we did. No, we did.
We did ticks. Did we do
ticks.
mosquito
No,
too?
we haven't done mosquitoes. But these mosquitoes are looking at you and just punching their fists. They don't have fists, but they're punching their fists.
I mean, okay, in that case, I'm definitely Yautja.
You're definitely. Oh, you're picking the Yautja?
Oh, absolutely. I'm absolutely taking my chances with him then. Yeah. Yeah.
They're just punching their little fists in their hands, getting ready to come at you and light you up.
So, like, we're basically saying that they're intelligent, though, like, because they're exhibiting intimidating behavior.
Yes, they're like they're like the sharks of the jets.
This is like one of those things, like if ants really could properly think instead of functioning almost like computer programs, because they're very basic creatures, right? I mean, as a whole hive, it's very impressive what gets accomplished, but really that's a division of neural labor. So if they could really think, like, we'd all be screwed. It's estimated that the biomass of ants is greater than the biomass of all other living land animals on the planet, including other insects, by the way. So it's like if you had like 43,000 mosquitoes, as you put it, that are now, even if their IQ is 18, but that are conscientious, they can coordinate and attack, or at least all choose to attack me at once, and just me, dude, no way. That's it. I'm done. You can't effectively fight that.
Mm-mm. You could windmill a lot, but you're done.
Fight that.
No,
no. I'm gonna take my chances with that predator.
Wow.
I might get lucky. He could trip. You know, some like people in fights. Like the biggest thing I'd be worried about in a street fight would be not that I get hit so bad that I'm knocked out or whatever. It's that what if I'm hit and I trip and I fall and I hit my head?
Yeah, twist your ankle.
That predator could just be chasing you and trip.
Yeah, like look how many rocks there are. When I watch the predator jump from log to log or tree to tree, like what if a branch gives out and it falls down and blows an ACL or a YCL, a Yautja CL? You know, it's like it just blows out its knee.
And this is not like the Na'vi on Pandora, where Pandorum, I forget, but where the gravities, there's more oxygen in the air. They have super dense bones and all this stuff. No. We're on Earth. That is a 6'9", presumably 500-pound creature. When he's jumping like that, dude, tall people shouldn't even run for that reason.
No.
But if you're that heavy, right? You'd screw up your knees. That thing is banging up his knees. I'll bet his ankles were swollen at the end of that fight just from all that jumping.
That's why it takes breaks in between all these things. I'm supposedly using this time for skulls, but y'all know my ankle hurts. Like, I got to rest. That'd be funny if there's an ankle wrap around one of the Yautja's ankles in one of these movies. And one thing, John, in Prey and in this one, these large monsters that are very bulky climb trees making no noise and presumably jump from branch to branch. Like, how do you? I've never been like, how? Why is that so quiet? And how? Like, they have superhuman strength then to propel that much bulk from branch to branch, unless they're like Aquaman, but they're not. How does that work, John?
Yeah, I don't know. You still got to wonder, like, the branch should be responding more to the weight. Right?
Yeah, right?
I mean, we're suspending our belief a little bit. But I will say there is something to it, though, in how they present it in the movie, where when a tree branch forks from the trunk at a hard angle, he's gripping it close to the trunk attachment. He's not like way out there where it would swing, or you'd be like, oh, he weighs 400 or 500 pounds, it would break. But even still, when he leaps over at something, like that whole tree's shaking, like leaves are falling. Like it's not sneaky. Even if he somehow could reduce, gracefully do it, there's just too much mass shifting, I feel like.
And do you know why this movie's so amazing, John? Is since '87, people have talked about this, but it's not really a thing. You'll never meet somebody in a Dave and Buster's, or a Main Event, or a KFC, or a local chip shop, or a local gastropub who's just complaining about this aspect of Predator. When you talk to people about Predator, it's that thing is awesome. It's get to the choppa. It's the famous lines. It's the handshake. Like no one, the Stan Winston's effects on this, not JCVD's monster, but Kevin Peter Hall and Stan Winston. When people think about this movie, they just think about the iconic shots, the guns. No one really thinks about the logic of a space uber dropping an alien off, turning invisible, and jumping through trees. Like, it's just an all-out, like, high-concept, badass action movie. Does that make sense? Like, for years, no one's ever really bothered about the lore. Like, I know there's comic books and everything, but when you talk to the general person about this movie, they're like, I love it. Like, no, it's so good that no one's ever thought about aliens jumping through the trees. Does that, like, it's a good movie when people just ignore, just, like, McTiernan during the commentary, they went to Mexico to film, but all the leaves fell. And so when you watch this movie again, they had to cut off branches and add vines to a lot of scenes just to make it look somewhat realistic. During the waterfall scene, he's going to fall on he's falling off a cliff. Next thing you know, he's going down into the water. So there's a lot of continuity things in here, but it doesn't matter because the monster's cool. The idea is cool. It's simple to follow. And it's just a fun, creative, cool movie.
I think that they did a really good job. The filmmakers, McTiernan, the writers, the writer. I don't even know
writers.
Who wrote this.
They wanted to do like a Rocky, like an alpha versus an alpha monster, like an alpha monster versus an alpha person. So you had the Thomas brothers who wrote this.
So we spent the first 30 minutes of this movie. Like, if you did not know what movie you were watching, right? You had no idea. You never saw the trailer. You don't know this movie exists. If you just cut out the opening minute where you see a space uber pop down, right? And instead you just start with like Arnold Schwarzenegger's chopper coming in. You could watch 30 minutes of this and be like, this is a great, like, Rambo sequel era action movie. It's got loads of explosions, so much budget going to explosions, to so many different shots with gunfire, so many different people getting riddled with bullets, so many people getting stabbed. So there's so much set and out in the open. Like, a lot happens. There's like a physical gag of Schwarzenegger deadlifting a car, like, to launch a car into something and then throw a grenade at it. So like, it's not just that they're opening with some action scenes to give relevance to the toughness of our characters. You could totally think you were just watching a full tilt, big budget, regular action movie, like a regular guerrilla warfare movie. And so when you do that, and then these guys are almost dumbfounded and getting stiff-armed with every first encounter of someone disappears, he's dead. There are these people already, he's hung up upside down and his guts are on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, I think that really hands you your disbelief on a platter and says, yeah, forget all about it, because they did a great job setting you up for this joke.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because some people actually wonder if the alien is actually necessary in the beginning, watching the alien Uber service or taxi cab service drop the alien off. Because if you walked into this movie and you saw that and you're like, okay, well, I guess there's an alien here, then you wait for it to come. But if they didn't have that shot and you just watched this is Commando meets Rambo 2, kind of like
Mhm.
like just
Very much, yeah.
like a guerrilla warfare movie that's amazing, and the actors are cool. You like the actors, you know the names of the actors, and yeah, and also too like I know that like this is also a movie that it's sci-fi and it's horror, but it's also action. So if you go into this and if you're one of those people who are like, I don't want to watch an alien movie, I don't want to watch that alien picture, you can just watch this as an action movie. If you are a sci-fi nerd or a sci-fi fan, you don't have to be a nerd. You can watch this and go, holy crap, that monster was awesome. That creature was amazing. Stan Winston is a god. Like, there's multiple ways to watch this movie. And if you're a horror fiend, you have chests exploding, you have skinned bodies, you have stick around, you have the ultimate alien fight. It becomes kind of a slasher towards the end. The arms getting sliced off and still shooting bullets and heads being exploded. So you can watch this on so many different levels. And I think that's why it's kind of, there's a lot, like, I even watched with Megan and she loved it. She loved the final fight of this. And it's just, I think so many people can watch it because, like, yeah, it's got like, there's multiple ways you can watch this movie. And I think that's why it's considered such a classic. Like, Predator 2 isn't like that. Predator 2 I really like, but it's a very aggressive and, like, mean action movie. And it's not what this one is, I don't think. Even though I love Predator 2, but it just doesn't hit the same marks. And it shouldn't, because it's a sequel. It should be different. But I dig all the things that this movie hits.
Yeah, it's funny too. You mentioned that opening scene. It does feel very out of place, but that was like a trope at the time.
Yeah.
Movies like now, there's no reason to compare the movie Critters or the horror movie Night of the Creeps, right? Or Invaders from Mars to this. But all those movies came out before this. They all started out with actually more like a 1 minute space shot. And by the way, even The Thing, opening minute, it's just showing us this thing landing on Earth, even though it's 20,000 years prior, right? So you had a lot of very movies, unfortunately, like The Thing didn't gain popularity until maybe around the time of Predator. But these movies are gaining traction where that's the thing. Like, that's the stylish effects shot to include, right? And it was actually a really good effects shot of his ship going by before it got closer to the Earth. Like, I was thinking to myself, I've seen this movie so many times, but now I'm thinking about it more critically. It's like, that ship looked really good for 1987.
Yeah, good effects, good miniatures.
But again, it was just kind of the trope. And then we wander into, again, this great action movie. Yeah, Predator 2, again, that's almost like, Predator 2 plays out like a hard R, The Dark Knight urban comic book to me.
Absolutely. Because it feels like it's in a dystopian world that's more violent, that's more aggressive. It's a totally different world. And, like, it's so much, that Yautja is so much more violent, John, in Predator 2. It's a maniac. And even Danny Glover, there's a scene in Predator 2 when they talk about his aggression, and it's up 60% above normal people. Like, it's just a very, like, aggressive and bloody and mean movie. But yeah, I mean, I actually like it. I've always liked Predator 2. I love the final fight. I love the Alien vs. Predator reference. I love the determination of Glover in that movie. It makes me happy. But I think I guess that one people sort of look down on, but this one, I don't know. I feel like you can't, for Predator 2, you can't go back to the jungle. You can't, like, no, you can't. Like, you can't just go back and do this again because, one, the Yautja surprise is gone. Two, like, who are you going to find that's better than Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger? Like, you're not going to meet that. Like, and also, just the bare bones on this, the action doesn't really pop off until, like, there's that initial 80s murder of mercenaries. But when the action kicks off, there's not that much of it. It's just a lot of, you know what's interesting? A lot of this movie is people looking in the trees and going, wait, you hear that? What's out there? Something. And you can't just do that again. So you have to go more aggressive, more R, I think, for the sequel. At least that's just what I think, to do that. But I mean, I don't know. I think McTiernan did such a good job on this movie of, like, the focus on the minigun, the characters. Like, I think characters get room to breathe. We watch a lot of action movies where I don't think the characters get as much room to breathe as the ones do in this movie.
No, they get moments, they get a line here or there, and it often fall a little flatter than it should because we haven't invested in them.
Yeah. And it's like these guys,
Enough for it to hit hard, right?
like, are we invested in these soldiers, or do we just more know them and know that they have unique personalities? Like, do you?
I think that their style per minute on screen is about as maximized as a movie can get.
Yeah.
And they tell us a good bit, but it's more in the kinds of jokes or the kinds of slander that they use. It's how they offend someone by hawking his tobacco chew on Paul Weathers' shoe. Like, it's the arm wrestling in the air that makes no sense, but it looks so awesome we don't care. But again, like a lot of these things, jokes about pushing pencils and getting soft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like they did, again, it's like we got a good cast for it and clearly a good writer, Shane Black, good writer. Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. Shane Black's the writer. Solid writer. And really, this is like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Every time someone opens their mouth, it's almost something quotable or funny or appalling and funny.
Yeah. I don't got time to bleed. Like that's.
And then, all of Billy's stuff too.
Yeah.
His facial expression acting and Mac, Bill Duke, both of those dudes, their facial expression acting is off the charts. They're communicating more than they could with a damn monologue.
Yeah. When Bill Duke first sees the Yautja or Mac and just starts unloading, he gets this full maybe 5 to 10 second moment of just and then anger. Like I'm not saying modern movies don't do that, but this movie does think about character a lot. Now they did have free time because it took Kevin Peter Hall 4 hours to get into the costume. And it took him several to get out, and they couldn't use him that much because it was so hot. And plus, they had JCVD's outfit that didn't even work, and the optical tricks that they did for this movie took a long time. So almost like Jaws, the shark didn't work, so they found character work. I think that's maybe what came out of all that was they were able to spend more time with the characters and just make that work. And also, too, Mac doesn't get enough credit, John, for killing a 1,000-pound deadly carnivorous wild boar.
That thing is so. Every time I see that movie, I'm actually even more shocked at how big that big fake pig is. Boar next to him. That thing's gigantic. He killed that with a knife.
Yeah, that's Razorback too. That
Dude.
Thing is a monster. And
That's
everyone's
boar.
like, you killed a pig? No, you didn't kill a pig. You killed the pig.
Yeah.
Right? You killed. That's an Australian horror film right there in itself. That's a horror film in another movie. But he killed that thing and it's giant. It makes me so happy. But then they just make fun of him. But yeah, I don't know where that came from. But Mac's never gotten the credit he's deserved for killing that pig. I just want everyone to know. You're with me on that?
They just laugh at him.
Man, that thing was gigantic.
Dude, so big. So big.
And I also, so you would dress like Mac in this. He has long sleeves in this movie.
He's very practical.
Yeah. I just saw the clip.
He is also the least muscularly built by a landslide of this cast. Well, I shouldn't say that, but because also of his just his BMI, like he's a more regular dude, I think, who just happens to be big and tough. We have our two wiry guys, right? Like Shane Black and the other fellow who dies.
Pancho. Richard Chavez.
Yeah, they're two wiry guys, and then we got Mac, and then everyone else is just like a powerhouse.
Man, and yeah, the great sweat work in this movie too, John. I just want to tell you that,
dude, so much. I'm wondering, it's almost like they just were patiently putting them in a sauna before every shot. Like just really 10 minutes, 10 whole minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes. I need to do 10 minutes. From totally dry. I need to pat you dry between scenes because I need it to be perfectly beading and not yet dripping down until I'm recording the camera, right? Because, there's never a drop coming down until you see the beads grow on screen.
Yeah, really, like they have Evian spray on set. Like they had a sweat master, I think, on set of this. They had an on-set sauna and a sweat master just to load them up. Now I know it was hot outside, so maybe they didn't even need it. But whenever I watch this movie, the sweat work always makes me happy.
Very impressive.
Like, we talk about Dwayne Johnson a lot. We like Dwayne Johnson, but sometimes his sweat looks like he just, I don't know, loaded himself with Evian
I feel like
spray.
he's just been baby oiled in a lot of scenes. I love The Rock, right? But it's true. Like some of those scenes, you're looking at him like if you weren't seeing his shirt wet under his pits specifically, you just feel like, did someone just rub baby oil all over your arms and face?
And under your armpit. And another thing you touched on, I don't think we've properly discussed, is that this movie, I know they had to kind of flub some of the on-location shooting, but this is a movie that feels on location. This doesn't feel like a studio picture. This, like, they had to build some fake trees for this movie. But I think what makes this movie work and quite timeless is it feels like it's in the jungle. Now, sometimes you can look up and you feel like you're seeing a tree from Vermont. But other than that, like, it feels very much so on location. Do you think that's another reason why it's held up so well?
Well, it looks good. I feel like that's the thing that we only notice when it's bad. That's a good point. Most viewers will only notice that, or you don't even notice that you notice it, but it's harder for you to just immerse yourself in what's happening, when everything looks so good. That's one of the greatest things about the opening scenes of Avatar, or the introduction to the forest. It's almost like a drone is going through kind of low to the ground. It's disturbing plants. You're seeing what the edge habitat and lower plant life and a few things flitting by looks like. Things like that are really effective. They're very engaging. We want to see what this opens up into after you go over this cliff or down into this little chasm, like this forest ravine. That stuff all works well, right? And didn't do it nearly as well, but with the aquatic fauna, Phantom Menace, right? With all the things swimming around in this three-dimensional subterranean aquatiscape, right? Like even if something's kind of silly, that how are all these things eating all these things in 30 seconds, right? But at the same time, you don't care. It's
a cool world.
You love knowing that these things exist here, right? That's what the take home is.
Yeah.
And this movie's doing this in a very grounded way, right?
And that's a great point, because you watch Phantom Menace and you see that Sando aqua monster, the gigantic one. That thing would have to eat a lot. I don't think there's that much for that thing to eat, but you see it in that cave eating things. You're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it's just a cool, and listen to our aquatic sea beast tournaments. We've done 3 of them. So go back through and listen. We talk a lot about those sea monsters. But also, you know what I like about this movie too is the Yautja has to do surgery on itself because it got shot. Like, that's a really unique angle. This thing just goes, crap, Bill Duke got me. And is bummed out about it and has to go fix itself with futuristic tech. That's an interesting touch, an entire scene where the hunter is hurt. Like, that's quite unique. And they humanize the Yautja a little bit too, which is quite interesting. And that's kind of, that you have to make it bleed so they know they can kill it. But I feel like in most movies, like the Xenomorph, right? You make that thing bleed, you're dead. So this thing can get shot. It does need to do surgery on itself. It needs to kick it up in the tree branches for a little time just to relax and heal itself. I think that's pretty neat. Like, do you think that's one of the more endearing things about the Yautja?
Sure. Well, yeah. How when it had that kind of clamp, which was functioning as a huge stitch that it put in, and then looks up and it it yells in pain basically, right? It's not really a roar; it's just loud. But yeah, right. It's like this is actually what was my biggest problem with Prey, is the Yautja seemed immortal. Yeah. It got stabbed through the chest and back with the spear, and it just kept going like it got punched. And it takes a lot of hits and goes totally unfazed. It had a limb removed and it seemed unfit. Whereas this one, he got shot, probably a clean shot straight through the flank, no major organs, and that was a big deal. Yeah. And I think that worked well. By the way, loved Prey to any listeners who are like screaming at their computers right now. But I don't like it when something is so truly unstoppable. I'm not a fan of that as much unless we really are. This is like a mechanized Hellboy versus the Golden Army situation.
Yeah, that feral predator definitely becomes much stronger than probably this one does. But but that's why I like it. I like the humanistic aspect of this Yautja. This Yautja can be fooled. Like Arnold's laying on that tree, it walks right over him. Arnold actually does a bluff on the Yautja, and the Yautja gets smashed by a tree branch. Like this thing's kind of pompous. It does kind of hunt. It's not. Like I think that's such a unique aspect of this movie. And I love Predators too, but Predators, not Predator 2, the Adrian Brody movie. But those Berserker Yautja, oh my gosh, they're insane. Like they're just like Adrian Brody hits that Berserker Predator in the head with an axe like 15 times, and you're just like, what is happening? Like, but it's still cool, right? They still look awesome. But I think that's why I like this movie so much is the thing gets injured and everyone gets a break. Like he's like, listen, y'all, I got to do some alien surgery on myself, and that way Bill Duke can get a monologue that's amazing about the same kind of moon and same kind of jungle, and just get a monologue while the thing is healing up its leg. See, it's cool.
This is like the Fast and the Furious. In the first one, all those lectures about family, they're like, oh man, Vin's hitting it hard. Like, oh, and now Paul gets it. Whereas, in movie 5, Fast 5, which I love. Actually, it's my favorite, but still, like at that point, yeah, okay, family, right? Ha ha, yet again. Oh, now you're a part of the family. Okay, this is old. And the other thing is that everything gets amped up. Now we're all good fighters. You get to part 9, it's like an Avengers movie in terms of people's skill and knowledge and how fast they get things done. And so that's like Predator to Predators to the Predator.
Oh yeah.
Things really, really kind of they've just got to keep upping it. That's just, I guess, that's probably more the studio influence side. But no, it has to be bigger. Like, and they're just like, well, why don't we just make a great different movie? It's like, no, bigger. It needs to be. Well, how do you make it bigger? I need, right? This is what happened to Michael Bay in the Transformer movies.
Oh gosh,
I loved the first 2, and then less and less and less and less.
Number 5, Mark Wahlberg is pulling a sword. He's becoming King Arthur. And there's a space. It's a headache watching
I thought that movie was so forgettable. By the way, the Mark Wahlberg one. Yeah, so forgettable.
I remember watching that, and I hate when people say watching a movie is like a fever dream. But watching that one, I was like, this is a nightmare. Like this is a lot to watch. And also, you talked about The Predator. I think there's fun to be had with that movie, but it gets so complicated. Like you have a predator who wants to get a mask, but then a super predator comes down, but then there's an agency. But then you have these guys, and then you have a scientist, and then you have a kid, then you have his wife, and then you have it's very complicated. Whereas this one, yeah, like Carl Weathers has a double cross, but he comes through in the end. Not a double cross, he kind of lies a little bit, but he's a good guy. He just was on the wrong mission. And then they're outmatched by a Yautja, and they have to kill it and get to the chopper. Like this simplicity of this. This is. Like some of these Predator movies, I don't even know if The Predator could be called a high concept movie because there's so much plot. But this one is just an alien hunter hunts badasses. That's it in the jungle. You could say that in an elevator and someone would be sold on it because of just the concept of it. So I think, but also too, like I think when you focus on when you have such an easy concept to absorb, that's when you can have Bill Duke saying soliloquies. I can't say the word right now. What's the word?
Soliloquy?
Soliloquies. Yes, I'm a lit major. Sorry, guys. Soliloquies. And, Bill Duke saying soliloquies. You have a lot of looking into trees. You have tension allowed to be built. You have a surgery scene with the predator. Once you have such a simple concept, then you can really drill in on the characters. And I think that's, once again, I keep saying this, but that's why you can have such an effective film because you don't have to explain the plot to anybody. As much as I love Inception, the first 40 minutes are just all explaining the plot of what Inception is. This one's not that at all. So I dig it. I like that. I like that you can really focus on these characters and have more time with the characters because everything's so easy to absorb. If that yeah.
Oh no, I mean, little controversial maybe to some listeners, but like, okay, Total Recall, very high concept, a lot of social commentary, outstanding director, right? Great cast, lots of memorable characters. I feel like the character work between the writing, acting, and direction is so much superior Predator than Total Recall. Total Recall's impact is in the social commentary and the story arc. This movie has no story arc. These guys, as Schwarzenegger put it, got dropped in a meat grinder.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, and we can say, oh, well, actually, the story is, but the story is very, very, very simple. The scope is extremely small, and all the double cross and that invasion mission in the beginning are really their happenstance that don't even have to do with our story, right? That mission is almost like Indiana Jones having plane trouble, which makes him crash land in Temple of Doom to have this misadventure that he wasn't even planning on going on.
Absolutely.
Right? Or Mad Max Fury Road, whatever example we want to pick. They just ended up here. This wasn't their mission.
That's a really, it's not their mission. And it's cool because, that action scene's quite pointless, but it establishes them as like, they have no casualties on their end. They just murder everybody. Arnold lifts the truck. So you're like, okay, these guys are warriors. So not only does it send them on another mission, but then it instead of just telling us all the time on what these guys can do, it shows us what they can do. It shows us what the minigun can do. So not only do you see that they're a bunch of badasses, but then you also, this sets them off into another section of the story. So it's just good storytelling. It's plain and simple. And I hate saying this, but so many of the classic action films where Mad Max Fury Road, it's just basically there and back again. They drive one way and then they drive back the other way. Aliens, they're just going to a colony that was attacked, and then Marines get attacked by aliens. I think some of the most classic action films ever made, listen, barring Nolan's films, are quite simple in structure. But that's why you remember Hudson. That's why you remember Vasquez. That's why you remember Mac, Billy, Pancho, Dylan, Dutch. Like, you remember the characters.
It's great that you mentioned that too, though, like, because Aliens seems to have that kind of well-invested character work. It's just there are more people, so it's a little more divided. But it seems to have the same level of investment, from my experience, and reaction and emotional response as like Predator.
Yeah, because simple plots, right? You just have simple. Like, look at John Wick. Dog gets killed, goes on a revenge mission. Like, it's so easy to absorb, and they've gotten 3 successful movies. I'm not going to compare that to Aliens or Predator, but I just think just spend more time with the characters so you like them.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And they don't have growth, they don't have evolution, but you know them and you know their names. Like, Bill Paxton doesn't have a real evolution in Aliens, but he's great. Michael Biehn, Hudson. Oh, no, wait, who is Michael Bihn's character? Why am I forgetting? Newt. Who's Michael Biehn in Aliens?
His name, I can't even think of it yet.
But we should know it, because as soon as someone says it, you go, oh yeah, that's it.
Right. No, I can't think
and
of
Bishop, it. Yeah, that sucks. That's my bad. But like, you just remember, the characters because it's such a simple plot. And I say this a lot. It's storytelling 101. It's nothing new. But I think that's why Predator's so beloved, because it's not action all the time. Like, there's a scene on right now where just characters are looking into the jungle telling stories. Like, it's cool. Like, and the alien, you haven't seen it in a while. The Ouch is just injured in a tree, healing up its leg. I love that about it. And I love that Arnold and Carl Weathers, like these huge, jacked up dudes, just get get the crap beat out of them in this. It's unselfish, I guess. And that's why I kind of like it as well. Like, Arnold at the time had, he tricked, they were working out every morning. You heard the behind the scenes stories of this, right? Like, Carl Weathers would get up at 4 a.m. to work out before everyone else came to work out. So when every day people saw Carl Weathers on set looking huge, they're like, how do you do that? He's like, I just do it. That's just me. And just like one day Jesse Ventura was like, I have bigger biceps than you. And Arnold's like, oh, I have 27 inches or something. And then Jesse's like, oh, mine are bigger. So he ended up having 28 inches. And then later on, it just turned out that Arnold had 30-inch biceps, but he was just messing with Jesse Ventura. Like, he just he over the topped him if you watch that documentary. But yeah, the stories about that are just as good too. JCVD on set, but he left because he couldn't be seen in the costume. It's like, not only does this movie have interesting on-camera stuff, but then behind the scenes, it was pretty gnarly to make. And they had to redo the alien. The original alien looked terrible. It's like Stan Winston had to throw a Hail Mary because of Arnold recommending him. So I think this movie, Yeah, if you're a fan of film, you can research how it was made. If you're a fan of action movies, you can watch how it was made. If you're a fan of horror movies, you can watch how it's made. Dead Meat covers this. This movie is covered on Dead Meat. I think it has 9.7 million views. This episode, like, there's an audience for this movie. It's connected around the world, but it's cool. Like, I don't know. I keep saying I don't know, and I keep going back in circles, John. But we've been watching this since '80. When's the first time you watched this?
That's tough to say, but probably 89 or 90.
I was maybe 91
Probably
or 2. This has been a part of our lives for a long time. What did you first think about this movie? What's your evolution with this movie?
I don't really know. I used to watch this like with my uncle and my cousin because my uncle was a big Columbia House video club guy. People are listening like, what on earth are you
Hey,
talking
I had
about?
Columbia House.
It was this club where you would buy 2 VHS cassette videotapes for regular price, and then you would get 12 more for like a penny each over the course of like a year. And every time you did it, you re-upped. You did it, and you had a year to pick your movie based on what they sent you every 3 months in a brochure that you would mail in physically after you checked the box of the movie you wanted them to send you. It's so analog, it sounds like reverse sci-fi right now.
And send them a check. You had to send in a check.
Right.
For the movie.
Right. Or write down your credit card number. So, like, which would sound insane now. But yeah, so we would watch like multiple movies a night, like 2-3 movies a night until like only 2 people are awake in the living room out of 5 or 6. And so this came on multiple times a year from the time he got that movie. And of course, we're talking back in an era where it took well over a year for something to make it to home purchasable status.
Mm-hmm.
I think it took like a year to get onto HBO back then. Yeah, I was a kid, man. Like, I don't even know. I feel like I didn't even know what was going on. And then before I knew it, it's almost like you don't remember learning how to talk.
Yeah.
Right? I don't remember learning what I thought about Predator. I just remember learning how it evolved as I got yet older.
You know what's crazy about this movie? Starship Troopers has evolved a lot for me while I watch it through the years. Learning about the fascism and... Because when I watched Starship Troopers when I was 15, I just cared about the blood, the guts, the lady. Yeah, exactly. It's just chaos and so much gore.
Football scene in it.
Yeah, football scene and violin.
Shower scenes.
And you're just, when you're 15, you're like, this is amazing. But then you get older and you research it and you learn about how Verhoeven tossed in the fascist element, why he cast who he did. And so then as a lover of film and Phil Tippett's beautiful design of creatures, you're going, wow, this is a technically proficient film with something to say about a sneaky message about fascism. But for me, Predator, I don't think it's ever, I notice little things and Arnold losing the final fight, but this movie's never evolved for me as I've gotten older. It's just always been awesome. Like Ferris Bueller, I think when I was younger, Ferris was awesome. When I got older, Ferris is a punk. So now, but Predator's always been cool for me. This movie's never, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I haven't had an evolution. I've never grown out of this movie. I didn't go, well, I liked it when I was younger. I'll see what I think now. I still love it. Like this movie, I've just loved. There's been no, I'm older and wiser now, so I see Predator differently. No, this is just a really good action movie. So I don't think I've had an evolution with it. It's just more of this is just a good movie. I always like watching. Does that make sense to you?
I mean, this is a movie I definitely see like every year one way or another. And I mean like on purpose, not like, oh, it's on HBO on minute 20. I'll just pick it up, which I'll do. But this is a movie where I choose to watch it probably every single year. Has
it evolved as you've gotten older, or has it just always been awesome?
Normally when we say that, and I relate to what you mean about how like my general reactions to it are the same. However, we obviously realize a lot more of what's going on the screen and with the characters. However, even though we're realizing more and catching the nuance or some layers of complexity, it's not changing our reactions to it. Whereas I think a lot of movies that we watch as we get older, it can change our reactions to it tremendously.
Yeah.
As we learn and see more in it. Just depends on the movie, I suppose. Alien, they fall in the same kind of category for me as well. Like you realize a lot more about what's going on and why like when we're older, we're like, these are like blue collar workers, right?
Yeah.
Whereas back when you're a kid, you don't really register that. You know you're signing up for a movie where people are going to get are going to be facing off against aliens, just because they don't have SWAT suits and miniguns, you're still not. It's almost like you're signing onto a video game in your head.
Yeah.
I feel like.
This is a huge question to ask you, John, but why is this movie so still revered? Like, why has this movie stood the test of time? Why is it such a great action film?
Quotables and characters.
There we go.
Quotables and characters. The quotables, sure, right? But like the thing is that I can't watch and enjoy Ace Ventura anymore. I can't. It's a bit too obnoxious for me. But I still love quoting it. I do. I still love, like, when I quote it, the GIF is going off in my head.
Do not go in there.
Visuals. They're right. Yes. No joke. My uncle said that for years after a bad run in the bathroom, and we always loved it. Or we rolled our eyes and called it like his better attempt at a dad joke, right? But this movie has quotables, but the quotables are from characters that, again, are strikingly more rich than I think we ever would have realized on a first watch or when we're younger. And they're well-written characters. I mean, when we rave about a horror movie, we're usually raving about it because of the characters. Now, I'll rave about wonderful kills and gore, right? But at the end of the day, that's all I'm raving about.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about certain other horror movies, I mean, X, Ty West movie did so well. I saw that. I would have been willing after 30 minutes to just watch the movie of these young first-time pornographers try to live out their dreams as they've planned them out, and like awkwardly push their way through making this film, and their relationship tension during. By the way, watch X. I think it was really good.
Very good movie. Great alligator scene.
They made a sequel/prequel, and now they're making another sequel. So it's like it's really taken fire, but it's because people cared. When we saw Cure for Wellness, we're like falling apart on each other because the story is so, in this case, it was more story than characters, but the story was so rich and steeped in Frankensteinian contemporized, right? When we talk about Bram Stoker, we fall apart over how Bram Stoker did with Dracula.
Yeah, and looks,
right?
looks.
When people nail a character orally, emotionally, like it's just going to have that staying power. Total Recall special effects are weak, so I don't care. They're owning it. People go watch stage plays, Ash versus the Evil Dead. As long as people are nailing those characters, right, and those lines, no one says these special effects suck compared to the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like you
right?
Yeah, and it's like you love the characters in this movie. Yeah. I think you're right. Quotables and characters, because it's gifable, it's gifable, it's gifable. The quotes are there. And the monster's awesome. I mean, look at Jaws. Look at Alien. Look at the movies that have created just a badass monsters. They have long legs to them, as like these movies last. And I think this is up there in the rarefied air of think of awesome monsters. I dig this movie so much. I love it.
I mean, would Jaws have worked so well if
Without
Roy Scheider was so tortured in his journey of just getting people to believe him? I mean, this mayor.
You hate the mayor more than the shark.
Right. To such effect that in what Ghostbusters 2016, it was don't you ever call me the mayor from Jaws.
Oh, I love that line. That made me so happy to know. But listen, we've gone on for a little while. If you want to listen, we talked about I've talked about the final fight in this movie, so you can hunt down that episode. But John, I want to do something really quick, man. Since we've been talking about action movies, I want to do something. Let's focus on new action movies, and let's do a 2010 and beyond action movie draft. So I'll give you first pick, and I'll go second. So we have to pick action movies that have been released since 2010. And if you need to pull up Google, that's fine to kind of get some references. But
boy, I feel like
I have my first pick.
I don't even know how to effectively search this.
Dude, action movies 2010s.
Okay, I'm going to start with I can't think of it. It had oh my god. Why can't I think? It had the Indonesian guys.
Oh, The Raid.
Not that.
The Night Comes For Us.
It was The Night Comes For Us. That's what I want. Night Comes For Us.
Beautiful movie. Well, then I'm doing The Raid, because The Night Comes For Us is my third favorite action film of the 2010. So the Raid's number 1. What's your second pick?
I'm going to go John Wick 2.
All right, John Wick Chapter 2.
Specifically John Wick 2.
All right, John Wick Chapter 2. I'm going to take the Raid 2.
Okay. You know what? Sticking with sequels, I'm going to do The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh,
wait. Is that right? Yeah, it is after 2000.
No, 2010s.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. Okay. The Chris Hemsworth Netflix movie. Extraction.
All right. Extraction. I'm going to take 13 Assassins.
Okay. I'm going to do...
I love that the night comes for you.
Taken.
Taken. Oh, that was 2000.
Was Taken too early?
Yeah, I think that
Taken's too early. Yeah. You're right. Taken. No, you're right. It's definitely too early. I want Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, that's a clincher. I love that pick. All right, so you got Mad Max Fury Road. Whew, that's a good one. I might be toast here. I'm just so happy you picked The Night Comes For Us as number 1. That is a beaut. All right, I'm gonna take Edge of Tomorrow. I love Edge of Tomorrow.
Good. I saw that somewhat recently.
I love that movie.
I saw it with Sarah. She had never seen it. She really enjoyed it.
So good.
I'm going to go... Ooh, okay, shit. I was going to say Fast 5. It's amazing I don't have a rock movie, but I'm pulling back on that, and I'm going with... was it Mission Impossible Fallout with Henry Cavill?
That is it. Oh,
That's what I want. That bathroom fight and some of the other action scenes in that, great movie. But that bathroom fight, holy crap.
I'm going to do something controversial here, John. I'm going to take Fast and Furious 6.
Okay. Well, hey, that was the one with the raid guy. What's his name?
That was Joe Taslim is in it.
Joe Taslim.
And it has the airplane fight, it has the hangar fight, it has the tank fight, it has the opening English street chase, it has Gal Gadot being awesome, it has the Gina Carano, Michelle Rodriguez fight. It's just a whopper of a movie. So yeah.
I feel like if we did this a different day, our list wouldn't even overlap 20% of what we put together. Like, my mind is banging around like a pinball because action just feels so much broader than when we say sci-fi or horror or person, like an actor.
I almost picked Upgrade too because I love Upgrade. But
gosh, that would have been a great pick.
Yeah,
would have been a great pick. Or you could even have picked the James Wan movie.
Oh, Malignant.
Yes. The action in that is sick.
Gorgeous movie.
It is. I mean, Malignant is really just like, for all you people who loved Upgrade, we weren't going to be crass and do Upgrade 2. Here's something different that's for the people who loved Upgrade.
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I'm happy with mine though. So you have The Night Comes For Us, John Wick Chapter 2, Extraction, Mad Max Fury Road, Mission Impossible Fallout. I have The Raid 2, 13 Assassins, Edge of Tomorrow, and Fast and Furious 6.
So we each have Keanu Reeves and Joe Taslim.
Wait, do I have Keanu Reeves?
Didn't you say? Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of 47 Ronin when you said 13 Assassins.
Oh man, so we both so that's going to be the picture for this. We both have Joe Taslim, which is fair because he is a monster. He is an absolute monster. I love our list. This is fun. I mean, listen, Fallout.
And we both have Tom Cruise.
I mean, listen. If you're talking about action movies since 2010, you need Tom Cruise in this list. You need
the Indonesian Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you leave out an Indian, like if you're making a list from 2010s beyond, and you leave out Tom Cruise in one Indonesian action film, you're being provocative, correct?
Sure.
I mean, it's all subjective.
I mean, I guess I want to see their list though. I want to see the list.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's great.
Can they? Because again, like having a Fast and Furious movie in there, like that's easy to satisfy. Part 5 and on, I think. Like, I don't know. There are a lot of things that people could sneak in there that would work.
Oh, Bone Tomahawk, John Wick. I mean, John Wick 3 with Mark Dacascos, Baby Driver could have fit in there. Oh, and Kingsman, Dunkirk.
Kingsman, absolutely Kingsman.
I'm just naming movies right now, but listen, John, this was. Oh, Dread.
Wild.
But also, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about this. This was kind of an impromptu episode because I've been spending so much time with the Predator franchise, but we both love the movie. You know what? I think we tackled things that most people haven't tackled. I think this movie's been talked about ad nauseum, so I'm glad we kind of pursued things that, may not be like the Boar and other things that might have been talked about. So I'm happy we did this.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to go down a very shallow rabbit hole, Kevin Peter Hall played the alien in a movie called Without Warning from 1980, and the filmmakers of that tried to sue the people making Predator for stealing their idea.
Whoa.
I mean, the movie's a super, super duper basic version of Predator, but an alien comes to Earth for the explicit purpose of hunting people. A young David Crusoe in the shortest shorts that you could ever imagine David Crusoe, like from, what is it, CSI Miami?
Yeah.
In 1980, like he's wearing the shortest shorts. Like imagine the shortest shorts you could ever imagine him wearing. They're shorter. It's got Martin Landau in it. And again, Kevin Peter Hall plays the extremely tall alien that came to Earth just to hunt people for sport.
Oh, wow.
1980. So just a fun, random, very low budget movie, like under $200,000 budget.
I gotta
So they couldn't afford the lawyers to win the case against Shane Black, I guess.
I mean, they got Fox money by this point, right? So they're like, we're not losing this.
And by the way, I am in no way suggesting that because an alien came to Earth to hunt someone and they happened to also pick the good monster actor, right? Like, no. That's like saying that, oh, you picked a monster movie and Doug Jones is the creepy pasta monster, also manipulating kids. Like, there are 18 movies like this. It's just that back then there were fewer, right?
Oh, and also they had JCVD first, and then they brought in Kevin Peter Hall as a Hail Mary.
True, right.
So they can't even say they cast him after seeing that movie. Maybe they did, but they were already rolling with it. Or maybe that's their whole plot of not get... Wait, on the Predator belt, it looks like it has like a platypus. Like what kind of... Never mind, we'll talk about that later. That's another discussion. But hey, John, where can people find you, man?
You type John's Horror Corner, you'll find me all over the place, including on the top tab at Movies, Films, and Flicks.
Awesome. Yeah, go read it. John's been writing a lot of reviews lately, so a lot of fun ones to read. So go check that out. And so John, thank you for joining me. I think our next one's probably going to be 3,000 Miles to Graceland for our 500th episode. That's crazy.
Right around the corner.
All right, well, thank you for joining me, man. All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for John Levengood, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.